Hello there. Are you sure you're in the right place? See the name on the door? This podcast is Spine Chillers and Serial Killers. Surely you don't want to come in here. You do. Well, I must warn you that things are pretty adult in here. Absolutely no children are allowed. Obscene language, shocking and horrendous stories to chill you to your core, and terrifying tales that'll keep you up at night. The ladies inside aren't quite right. Lovely and hilarious, but very strange. Still want in, do you? Well, you'll get what you're here for. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back to Spine Chillers and Serial Killers. I'm Becky.
I'm Emma.
And I'm Tash.
Hello.
Hello.
Kaboosh.
Kaboosh. That's a new greeting.
Yeah.
Kaboosh.
Yeah, it is. We tried to do the intro a few times and it kept going wrong.
We keep trying.
So
The universe is
Kaboosh,
against
got
us
it right.
tonight. Definitely. Something weird's going on. Something weird's occurring.
I always blame it on the moon.
Well, I don't know what the moon's up
Yeah.
to tonight. Is it
but
full?
it's fucking everything
I
up.
can't see it from here.
Are you full, moon? Are you full?
I imagine Becky walking into work and going, kaboosh. So everybody says kaboosh, like with the proper hand gesture, kaboosh. Yeah.
Well, that's how everyone knows me. They're like, oh, do you know Becky? What, Becky
The
Kaboosh?
Kaboosh.
Yeah.
Becky the kaboosh girl. How are you? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm all right, actually.
Fine.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's good. We've just forgotten how to podcast this week. It's crazy.
We have.
Oh,
Yeah, it's 20 to 11 at night. Why are we recording?
I don't know.
Oh.
Last time we recorded, Tash, I told you about spiders having frogs to chase off vermin.
Yeah. Did Cara Beth get in contact?
Yeah.
Well, I'm willing to listen.
She said that it's true
I
and that
can't-
it's mainly tarantulas that do it.
I stand corrected.
They live, what's the word? Symbiotically? Is that
Symbiotically, so it's a mutual relationship.
it is?
So the
See?
spiders offer protection, but then the frog must be bringing something to the spiders.
Well, he's eating all the small bugs so they
Well,
don't
there you
attack
go.
the eggs.
Lovely.
Oh, speaking of frogs, I watched a video before coming on the podcast that there's a type of frog that can jump, but it can't land. It like,
That's unfortunate.
you know, them fainting ghosts. You know them fainting goats that kind of fall over. It kind of does
Fainting
that when
goats.
it's in the air.
I'm dead.
Yeah, and it's the funniest thing in the world. It's so funny. It's just
So
a
do they
stupid little
die?
frog that can't jump properly. They like jump and then kind of can't land. So they're just like ah.
Do they scream? I'd
It's
love it
so
if they
funny.
screamed as well.
That is funny, to be fair.
Did I tell you my latest obsession with the weird...
Taxidermy frogs.
No, so I've moved on from taxidermy. I've now moved on to being obsessed with porcelain or clay toads that are toilet roll holders. So the toilet roll.
How
rolls
many do
in
you
it.
need, though?
How would you want to acquire? How many toilets do you have?
See, and
That's a quick collection, isn't it?
Yeah, you finished already. That was a bit shit. Got for smells.
Next.
The toilet roll comes out of the toad's mouth.
Oh.
I just like it, but
Well,
it's
I mean,
quite a lot of money, and it's in the US, so the shipping is also quite a lot of money.
oh, we haven't bought it yet.
No. I'm going to give myself 6 months. If I still want it, then I will get it for myself.
And then when you decide you hate it, you can put it on the shelf next to Beryl.
Well, I don't think I'll hate that because the reason I don't like Beryl is her tail.
Okay. Frogs don't have tails.
And arguably, Beryl was alive. So I think it's fine that I don't like a dead animal.
I mean, I thought this all along.
But arguably, the toad is just a statue.
Ceramic.
Isn't it? A ceramic or whatever.
It was never alive.
And I do still really love my swan that I've got.
Yes.
The swan.
What's the name of the swan?
Shirley.
Shirley Swan.
But I forget and call her Sheila. So she should really be called Sheila. But it is meant to be Shirley.
Her show name is Shirley.
At home,
after she's had a few drinks, she turns into Shirley.
Yes, well done.
Yeah. After a few drinks, she's like, oh, did I need that?
Yeah, a northern. So she goes from being an Essex girl to a northerner. Yeah.
Well, I can't believe that you're like, I want this, so I'm going to wait 6 months to see if I still want it. That's amazing because literally I go, oh, I want that, bye.
Yeah, but it's like £124 or £25 plus the shipping. The shipping to England will be a lot. And then the risk of it breaking during shipping.
I could feel that you could find it, though, for cheap in a car boot sale.
But it won't be the one that I want, though, will it?
Maybe not.
No.
Maybe you'd like it more, though, because you found a bargain.
Well, I might, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't one of our stories someone get killed with a frog?
Yeah.
Is this why you want it?
No, I just like weird things, Becky. I've just bought a painting or a canvas, a print. And that has
every time.
It's like a vase and it's got arsenic written on it, but it's a beautiful bouquet. So like at first glance it's lovely, but then it's got arsenic written in it. I just like weird things, all right?
I'm all for being weird.
Yeah.
Be weird, man. Be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. But I've got to hold out for this frog because it's quite a lot of money.
Yeah, save up your pennies. No, and I respect the self-control, babes, because I've got zero.
And it doesn't really go with the aesthetic of my bathroom. So
you'll have to get more frog stuff.
To draw frogs everywhere.
Oh, I don't want to be one of those people that like something once and then everyone just buys that for them.
Frog toilet seat.
Yeah, that's not for me.
Oh, a toilet cover.
No, I just like the weird things. That just then makes me weird. I like weird things. I don't want to be weird.
Frog, like a mirror with little frogs all around it.
Yeah, that'll be nice, I know. So have a boyfriend. Definitely won't have a boyfriend.
Yeah. He just like, oh, I see you like frogs.
Ribbit.
Ribbit. Have you seen my cup? You see that it says coffee, tea in there.
You're a rebel.
You're a rebel.
Fucking am. Watch out.
The irony is not lost on me, Becky, as somebody that works in a coffee shop that is named partly coffee. I don't drink coffee.
Hate the stuff. I
love coffee so much. I'm trying to come off it a little bit. Getting the shakes.
Oh, just switch
Got such a nice coffee machine at work.
Decaf.
Grinds the beans.
It's the beans.
Oh, but then it's just like, no point.
Well, that's what they say. Right, come on then, let's do this, girls.
Okay, so...
Yeah, because this very quick intro is quickly nearly 10 minutes
we were going to do a quick intro because we've both done longish stories and I needed a break from ghosts and the paranormal after that book that broke my brain. So Becky has allowed me to step on her turf and do some true crime this week. So Becky's doing true crime.
Yeah.
I'm doing true crime. It's a true crime episode. True crime double whammy. So
yeah.
Double.
It kind of was supposed to be a swap. Yeah, it was supposed to be a swap. I think Emma thought I was going to do a spooky story But I didn't understand the assignment.
It's fine.
I didn't understand.
I was
But it's
disappointed because
fine.
last time you did a story, it was fantastic and it really shat me up. It was terrifying. And I was thinking about this. We would enjoy this podcast. I mean, not that we don't enjoy it, but because you love true crime and I love the paranormal, if you did all the paranormal stories and I did all the true crime stories, we'd both be like every week, oh, that's amazing. Tell me more. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, shall we swap for next time then? Do you want to do another true crime next time? Or have you got something up your sleeve already? And I'll do a spooky.
Zero plans. So yeah, next time I'll do another true crime. You do a spooky one. Scare me.
Make sure you tune in then next week. Next time. So my story this week is about a man called Jerry Michael Williams. Jerry Michael Williams, or who I'll refer to as Mike throughout the story, was born in Florida and raised in Bradfordville, just north of Tallahassee.
Tallahassee, yeah.
Is that right? Is it Tallahassee?
It's Tallahassee.
With conviction.
No, it's right. Tallahassee.
It is Tallahassee.
Yeah.
There's lots of E's and S's in that.
Well,
life was modest. His father was a bus driver and his mother ran a daycare from their double-wide trailer. And together they raised Mike and his older brother Nick. Instead of investing in material things, his parents saved up so that their boys could attend the North Florida Christian High School. So they just put all their money into the boys' education.
nice.
Mike worked nights in a local supermarket as well to help out. Good lads.
Sounds great.
Even as a teenager, he stood out. He played football. He served as the student council president at school. He threw himself into extracurricular activities like the Key Club. What that is.
They make keys. Key
Oh,
club.
yeah. Maybe.
Love a club.
But anyway, he was in clubs and stuff. He just loved being social. At 15, he picked up duck hunting as a hobby because it was like countryside, proper. Everyone loves a bit of duck hunting over there. And also guns, yeehaw.
Guns yeehaw.
Yeehaw! It was also around this time that he met a girl named Denise Merrill. The two started dating and stayed together through college. Mike attended Florida State University, majoring in political science and urban planning. He was smart-driven and deeply ambitious. Before he even graduated, he landed a job at Ketchum Appraisal Group. His boss called him the hardest working man I ever saw. And after Mike and Denise got married in 1994, so they were little high school sweethearts.
Aww.
Very cute.
Cute.
Yeah, so by that time, their life just seemed something like out of a suburban fairy tale. They bought a home in an upscale neighborhood on the east side of Tallahassee, and Mike often worked late into the night to provide for his family.
Hero.
Sometimes he'd go home for dinner and then have to head back to the office. Or he'd get up really early, go for a little bit of a duck hunt, and then go into work.
As you do.
Just loved killing ducks. No ducks were safe.
Your passion's your passion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm remaining very quiet.
It's probably because of the game. Didn't that come out in the 80s or 19s?
Oh, Nintendo Duck Hunt. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes. In 1999, the couple welcomed their first child, a daughter named Ainsley. So Mike's co-worker said that he was completely devoted to her, just as he was to his work. He just absolutely adored his little girl. By the time he turned 31, Mike was earning nearly $200,000 a year.
Go on, Mike.
Yeah, bringing home the bacon. He was a man in the control of his life with a clear plan for the future and happy with his family. Mike and Denise weren't the only couple to blossom from their high school years. Their closest friends, Brian Winchester and his wife Kathy, had also been high school sweethearts. The two couples remained tight-knit as adults. When Mike's dad suddenly died in the year 2000, it really affected Mike. And it made him think of his own family and like, he's not going to live forever. He's not invincible. Things could happen. So his friend, Brian, who I mentioned earlier, was an insurer. So he went to go and see Brian and was like, hey, I want to make sure that my family's well provided for him in case something will happen to me. So they decided to take out a $1 million life insurance policy. So that he and Denise went down together to take it out. So Denise knew about it. She wasn't in the dark about it or anything.
Yeah.
Which is normal. On paper, it was just a financial safety net for a young family. But in hindsight, probably wasn't the best idea. Mike was still grieving the loss of his father. And in the quieter moments, he kind of break down a little bit and talked to his mum. He confided in his mum and said that sometimes he just dreamed of taking a break, maybe taking $50,000 and just kind of stepping away from it all for a year and living a bit more modestly. But there were also exciting things ahead. Mike and Denise had started talking about trying for a second child. And in the spring of 2001, they were planning on a cruise to Hawaii later that year. And also, Mike had got back into work again and was expected to travel to Jamaica.
Ooh.
So life, as it seems, was moving forward. On the morning of the 16th of December 2000, Mike told Denise that he was heading out again to go on a duck hunt again, early morning. His favourite activity.
Quack, quack. Was he really going duck hunting?
Yeah, he just loves killing all those ducks. Just loves it.
Fuck the ducks.
Yeah, fuck the ducks, man. I think he just likes being alone in the wilderness as well. Just his little man time. So he drove off alone in his white Ford Bronco, towing his boat to the lake. So it's Lake Seminole. It's a massive body of water near the Florida-Georgia border. But he would never come home. And when he didn't return by midday, Denise called her father, saying he hasn't come back. Hours later, after a brief search, authorities found Mike's abandoned truck parked near the lake, so he definitely went there. His shotgun was still in the car, and his boat was floating empty on the lake. It looked like a tragic accident, a skilled hunter gone too far into dangerous waters. But something about it didn't feel right. And what seemed at first like a heartbreaking mishap would slowly unravel into one of Florida's most twisted murder mysteries. So Mike was no amateur outdoorsman. As we've mentioned, he's been doing this for a very long time. He knew the water, he knew the woods, and the risks that they posed. Yeah, so Denise started to call around and sound the alarm. And by the evening, search teams were gathering around the lake trying to find any trace. Among them was Mike's best friend, Brian, and Brian's father, who joined the effort to comb through the thick marsh. It's all like, when you think of a Florida swamp and then also a lake, that's kind of what it looks like. Manky, No, it's not crystal clear water.
That would have made it easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but there was no sign of Mike whatsoever. No life jacket, no body, like nothing, just his truck and his empty boat. For 44 days, search teams scoured the lake and found nothing. Until 6 months later, something strange surfaced. All of Mike's hunting gear, his waders, a fishing jacket, his license, and even a flashlight, all found in the lake, just floating there, as if someone had just chucked it in. It wasn't much, but it was enough for investigators to settle on a theory that Mike had fallen from his boat and drowned. His body had been eaten by alligators. Case closed, declared dead. Life insurance payouts were processed, and grief started to settle in.
I did wonder about gators.
Yeah.
Were the waders and stuff all
chewed up?
Chewed up?
A little bit, but they looked okay to me. Like, they don't look like they've been ripped apart, that a body had been eaten out of them. But Cheryl Williams, so Mike's mum, didn't believe any of that. Her son was cautious. He wore waders like armour, belted tight to avoid flooding, to avoid the waders filling up with water and drowning him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't take unnecessary risks, and he didn't fall out of boats. The alligator theory, Cheryl wasn't buying that either.
Well, no one does anything until they do it for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, everyone couldn't have an accident, but she just she wasn't feeling it. She was like, no, that's not what happened. So she started digging. She learned that alligators don't typically feed in the winter, which is when he fell in December. No remains had ever surfaced, not bone, not clothing, apart from his waders. What he was wearing weren't found. There was no tissue, nothing. She learned that the life insurance policies on Mike totaled a very, very hefty amount. $1.75 million. So we knew about the $1 million insurance, but they'd taken out an extra, it looks like another extra one had been taken out, just in case.
Yeah.
And the policies had been written out just months before Mike's disappearance by Brian, Mike's friend.
Right.
So the same Brian that had joined the frantic search on the day that Mike vanished, the same man who in 2005, 5 years after Mike disappeared, married Mike's widow, Denise. Boom, they're together.
We could have written it, really, couldn't we?
Right.
Yeah. Suspicious. Listen, it wasn't in 2001, so it's not like it was the year after. They waited 5 years, but it's super suspicious. So for Cheryl, Mike's mum, the picture was becoming disturbingly clear. What looked like a tragic accident looked more like a plot. And at the centre of it were two people Mike trusted most. She began compiling notes, dozens of pages of abbreviations, questions, timelines, like her own handmade case file.
Mm-hmm.
And every single day for 9 years, she wrote a letter to the governor of Florida. 1,472 letters in total.
Go
All
on,
leading
Mama.
for one thing. Yeah, to reopen the case, look deeper, and find out what happened.
Go, good on her. You would, if that...
Well, yeah, it's her son.
Yeah, exactly.
She wanted them to do it because she believed that her son had been murdered. And if she was right, then the real story wasn't one of a hunting accident. It was a story about money and betrayal, and a love affair forged in secrecy. So for years, Denise Williams wore the mask of a grieving widow. Her story was simple. Mike had gone hunting and had never returned, a freak accident or a cruel twist of fate. But as the years passed, the truth started to peel back like old wallpaper. Something far more chilling came to light. This wasn't an accident. It was murder, and they had been planned for years. They weren't married until 2005, but Denise Williams and Brian Winchester had been lovers long before Mike disappeared.
Bastards.
Nah, slags.
Absolute worst kind of people.
Sneaky dirtbags. Their affair, as Brian would later testify, began on the 13th of October, 1997.
Fucking
so this
hell.
was years,
Yeah.
3 years before. After a night out at a Sister Hazel concert with their unsuspecting spouses, Mike was parking the car and Kathy, Brian's wife, was nearby, and inside the club, Denise and Brian shared their first kiss. Bastards.
Absolute, yeah, shitbags.
Oh, honey, just go and park the car, smooch, smooch. Later that night, they returned to their own homes, but the bond had already formed. They stayed up talking on the phone, crossing lines that shouldn't have been crossed. Their relationship escalated quickly. They met in secret while Mike was working or travelling. So while Mike was bringing home all that money from his lovely little family, she was just like bash bash, bish bosh with Brian.
Kaboosh.
Yeah, kaboosh. They were kabooshing behind closed doors. They took kaboosh trips together under the pretense of business. Brian even joined Mike and Denise on vacations, inserting himself into their lives even more.
Scumbag.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you say scumbag, but you've got to hand it. Like, that's dedication, isn't it, to a
Just
woman?
leave your husband. Just leave your partner.
Just be like, actually, I don't want to be married to you anymore. But the only reason I don't want to leave is because you earn more money. That's basically what it was. And Mike was a good dude.
I haven't got anything against people falling in love with other people. That kind of shit happens all the time. But leave. Don't string them along. That's muggy as fuck.
Yeah, it is shit.
For years as well.
Yeah, no, it's shitty.
Years. Yeah. And when Kathy, so Brian's wife, when Kathy finally spoke out, she revealed something explosive. All three of them, Brian, Denise, and Kathy, had once been involved in a sexual encounter.
Oh.
Shortly before Mike vanished.
Why people are allowed threesomes?
Yes, but this particular story is painting a bit of a sleazy picture in my
Seedy,
mind.
isn't it?
I can just imagine it not being sexy. It's just sleazy.
They're rather sexy.
I think it's sexy when everyone knows about it and everyone's consenting and everyone's all for it. If Mike was sat in the corner, like, loving it or participating.
Yeah, poor Mike.
But it's not the case, was it?
Poor Mike, he's just in the dark completely of all of this.
Wow, and potentially been murdered. So actually, poor Mike indeed.
Yeah, and I think as well, Kathy was kind of
Schlag.
like lulled into it by Brian. It was like, oh yeah, let's have a threesome. I don't know why I did that. Caboose.
Because it's you.
Yeah. So the betrayal was layered and then it turned deadly. According to Brian, he and Denise started talking about ways to be together permanently. And they floated some scenarios around.
Yeah, it's called divorce. Pretty simple. Divorce.
Yeah. Like, oh, I don't love my husband anymore. It'll be annoying. Not annoying. It'll be hard. And I'll lose some money maybe. And I won't have this cushy house that I have. But yeah, it needs to happen. Don't kill people. So what they wanted to do at first was even worse. A boating incident that could kill both Mike and Kathy.
Oh.
But Brian couldn't bring himself to murder the mother of his child. But Denise, on the other hand, wouldn't even consider a divorce. She was like, no, fuck that. I'm killing him. Because divorce went against her religion.
Oh, fuck off, Denise. Fuck off.
Murder's fine. No divorce. Murder is okay.
Are you joking?
No religion says murder's fine.
Is it serious that she didn't want a divorce because of her religion?
Yes. But she's forgetting that her religion also says that thou shalt not murder.
Thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
Boo. Kaboosh. I swear kaboosh is in the Bible too.
What the fuck, Denise? Is she just stupid?
Well, she's horrible
People
and a
do
murderer.
crazy things, don't they?
Well, yeah, but that's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm not going to divorce him because of my religion, but
I'll just pick and choose the bits of the religion that I like to do. Murder's fine. Oh, she's a twat.
Absolute twat.
She is a twat. I'll send a picture of her in a minute. She's a right twat.
I bet she's an ugly one as well.
Oh, she's an ugly twat. She didn't want to risk losing custody of her daughter. So she basically only had one solution, according to her, and that was to kill Mike. The day that Mike disappeared, Brian later confessed to what actually happened. So what really happened that day was he and Mike went out to Lake Seminole, or Seminole, I don't know how to pronounce it, early that morning as two old friends on a duck hunt, just as they've done 100 times before. They launched the boat, and Brian suggested a secret special spot, something off the beaten path. And when Mike stood up to have a look at something, or to find a duck, I think, Brian shoved him overboard. He expected the heavy hunting gear to drag Mike down. But Mike didn't drown. He clung to a tree stump, fighting to stay above water. And that's when Brian pulled out his shotgun and fired. He shot Mike right in the face. Cold, brutal, but planned murder.
Jesus Christ.
That's intense, isn't it?
I find the face is a horrible... Well, obviously, anyway, it was a horrible place to shoot someone, but I find the face to be just... You're
So
deleting
personal.
that person's face. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just a shotgun. Your face is gone. It isn't there anymore, is it? I just find it just like... This person doesn't even have a face now. I don't know. I just find it the worst. Oh, give me shivers. So he hauled Mike's body back into the boat, then into his vehicle and wrapped it in a tarp. See, I don't understand. Where was all the blood then? You don't shoot someone in the face and then drag them back in the boat and there not be blood everywhere. So unless they did find blood everywhere in the boat, but they just thought it was alligator eating blood. So he hauled Mike's body back into the boat and then into his vehicle, wrapped it in a tarp and drove nearly 60 miles away to a muddy, remote stretch near Carr Lake. There he buried the man who had once been his best friend. Then he returned to Lake Seminole and joined the search, pretending to help find the man that he'd just murdered.
Fucking scumbag.
Brian claimed that he and Denise believed God would bless the plan, and if it was meant to be, they would get away with it. They had worked hard to keep the secret buried. I love how they're just like, oh yeah, if I can get away with it, God is okay with it. That's not how.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
Anyway, investigators now believe that Brian planted the Mike's gear in the lake 6 months later to make the accident story more believable, and it did work. Denise collected the $1.7 million life insurance, one of which Brian had written himself, and 5 years later, like I said, they got married. But their so-called perfect life didn't last.
Good.
Yeah. By 2010, the pressure was building, and police had reclassified Mike's disappearance as a suspicious death. Brian and Denise grew paranoid, watching over their shoulders, worried that the truth might catch up to them, and their marriage began to crumble. Brian, struggling with a sex addiction, became unstable, and by 2012, they were separated, and 2015, they filed for divorce. So all that for 10 years together, and then they get fucking divorced. So they killed someone for no fucking...
Yeah, but it's against their religion to get divorced.
Oh, it's against their religion. Obviously not that much against it, was it? Now that they have nearly $2 million. But Brian didn't want to let her go. So in 2000... Yeah, it was Denise that wanted the divorce, but Brian was like, no. So in 2016, he snapped. And on that day, Denise walked into the Leon County Sheriff's Office with a terrifying story. Brian had hidden in a SUV with a gun. He tried to kidnap her, and he threatened to kill himself. So Brian sounds great.
Brian sounds like he needs help.
They both need help. Yeah, they both need help. They both need to be in prison. They're both piece of shit. But yeah, she really left a good guy for an amazing fella.
For a fucking lunatic.
So yeah, he tried to kidnap her, threatened to kill himself, and she managed to talk him down and escape. So Brian was arrested for kidnapping and domestic assault and armed burglary. But here was the twist that no one saw coming. His arrest became the break that investigators had been waiting for. They had long suspected the pair of foul play, and now with Brian in custody, they made their move. So they pressured him. They were like, we know it's you. We know you got something to do with it. And because he was facing these other charges already, and he was in a real bad place mentally, and he was facing 20 years for the kidnapping alone, Brian struck a deal. He agreed to tell the truth about Mike's murder and implicate Denise in exchange for immunity on the murder charge itself. 17 years after Mike vanished, Brian led investigators to his shallow grave. There, near Carr Lake, they found Mike's remains. and Brian finally told the full story. He claimed that he and Denise had carefully crafted their alibis together, that she was home with the baby. Mike had gone hunting. She had no idea what happened. That was the story. And they just had to stick to the same story. That was the cover and the lie. In May 2018, Janice Williams was arrested, charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder and accessory after the fact. Despite her plea of innocence and support from her daughter, the jury saw through the facade. I do feel sorry for her poor daughter because she's going to want to defend her mum because that's all she's got.
Of course.
And she was only little at the time. In December 2018, Denise Williams was found guilty on all counts. So finally, a little bit of justice.
Just lock her up, slag.
Yeah. In 2000, Mike Williams disappeared into the water forever. But it took 18 years, a mother's relentless fight, and the collapse of a deadly love affair to finally bring the truth to light. In the end, it wasn't the police, the search dogs, or the evidence that cracked this case. It was betrayal, guilt, and a desperate man who finally told the truth, and a mother that wouldn't give up. And that was my story for this week.
Did I miss what happened to Brian? What sentence did he get?
He got, I think he got like 20 years for the kidnapping anyway. He's still in prison, but he got immunity from the murder, even though he murdered him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think the family just wanted closure and to have his body back as well.
Yeah, of course.
So, mental. Yeah. 18 years though. 18 years.
What, to solve the case? That's insane. Yeah. God bless his mum. Bless her heart.
I know. Bless her little fluff.
And him. Poor dude.
Scumbag.
Absolute. He just sounds like a stand-up guy trying to look after his family, and he gets that from his best mate. Awful.
Doesn't sound like a real mate to me, does it?
Well, no, he's not only shagging his wife, but he... Anyway.
No. Number one rule, don't shag your friend's wife. Come on.
Yeah, so she got 30 years. She got life in prison without the possibility of parole plus 30 years. And in 2019, it was overturned, so she just got 30 years in prison. And he got, immunity in exchange for his testimony. Yeah, and he was sentenced to 20 years for the kidnapping. And so he's still in prison as well. But it's a shame. He should have got life in prison as well, because he can still get out.
But he admitted everything, so I suppose...
Yeah, I think but I think the guilt was eating away at him a little bit. On all the assets as well, all the rest of the money, everything's gone to his daughter. Everything's gone to Mike's daughter, so...
Which is what he wanted in the first place, just not, like, right this minute. Oh, Bex, that's sad.
I know. Let's get onto your sad case then, because it's murder, so it's going to be sad.
Oh, it is. And, I go on a lot about evil and demons and Satan and the demonic, and nothing has made me quite as fearful of evil as this story has. So hopefully, Becky, you've not heard of it, but you might have done. Okay. It was the early hours of April 14th, 2013. The streets of Davis, California were quiet, most people fast asleep in the safety of their homes. But one person was awake, and he was hunting. 15-year-old Daniel Marsh moved silently through the suburban neighborhood. Not out for a walk or a midnight errand, but with one terrifying purpose: to kill. He was a disturbed teenager spiraling under the weight of mental illness and violent fantasies, and that night he gave in to the darkest of urges. He tried house after house, at least 50 doors, windows and garage handles, testing, waiting, hoping to find a way in, but every house was locked. Every home was just out of reach. Until he came to a neighbourhood near his father's house, a familiar area. There he found a window that had been left open. Inside that home were 87-year-old Oliver Chip Northup. So Chip was his nickname.
Chip.
Yeah.
Chip. Oh.
I know. A retired attorney and a World War II veteran, and his wife, 76-year-old Claudia Maupin, a beloved church elder. The couple had gone to bed like any other night, unaware that danger was lurking outside their window, unaware that a killer was about to step into their sanctuary. Before we delve deeper into the events of that tragic night, it's essential to understand who Oliver and Claudia were, who the world lost that night. Two people whose lives were filled with love, community service, artistic expression, and above all, family. Oliver Chip Jennings Northup Jr. was born on April 26, 1925 in Grand Island, Nebraska. A World War II Navy veteran, Chip went on to earn degrees from UCLA and UC Berkeley's Boalt Hall School of Law. He devoted much of his life to public service, working as city attorney for several towns in Yolo County, serving on the Woodland School Board, and even acting as president of the local Chamber of Commerce and Rotary Club. But beyond all that, Chip was best remembered by those who loved him as a fantastic dad and a great husband. He was gentle, wise, and endlessly supportive, a rock for his family. He married young, and though he and his first wife eventually separated, they raised children together and remained part of one another's lives. His second marriage brought him happiness, but ended in tragedy when his wife passed away. Then life surprised him in the most beautiful way. In 1996, he met Claudia Maupin, and everything changed. Claudia was gorgeous inside and out. She was full of life, endlessly compassionate, and had a laugh that could light up a room. To Chip, she wasn't just a third wife, she was his soulmate. Claudia, born on May 15, 1936, was deeply active in her church and her community. She served as a pastoral associate at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Davis, led retreats, acted in local theatre, and she was known for her giant heart. Her daughter once said she had a way of making people feel like they were the most important person in the world. Chip and Claudia created a loving, blended family that included 11 children, 14 grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren. Their home was filled with music, warmth, and laughter. Chip played guitar in a folk band called the Pootar Creek Crawdads, a group he'd been with for decades. Claudia brought soul and joy into everything she did. They were the kind of couple you aspire to be, affectionate, grounded, and totally devoted to each other. And they deserved so much more time.
Oh, bless them.
They were lovely people, just everybody liked them. They would help anybody if they'd asked. You know, you really get the sense that they were just the kind, like grandma and granddad, you know, just the best people. So April 14th, 2013, so the morning after, was a Sunday. Claudia Maupin and Chip Northup didn't show up for church that morning, which immediately raised concerns. Claudia in particular was a constant presence, warm, dependable, always involved. Her absence was noticed and thought of as odd. Chip was also supposed to perform that day with his folk band, but he never arrived. For people who were so reliable, this sudden silence was alarming. Chip's daughter Mary tried calling them, but got no answer. As the day went on, their family grew more concerned. Chip's son Robert and one of his grandsons went to the couple's Davis home to check in. The house looked quiet, locked up, no signs of struggle. They assumed maybe the couple had gone out of town unexpectedly and left without leaving word. But that evening, Claudia's daughter Laura, unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong, returned to the house with the police. She rang the doorbell, nothing. She walked around the back, and that's when she saw it. An open window, the screen slashed. Looking through the bedroom window, she spotted bloodstains. Police used a flashlight to look inside and quickly confirm the worst. Through the window, they could see the bodies. They forced entry into the home, and what they found marked the beginning of a nightmare that would shake the community to its core. When police entered the Northup Maupin home, what they found was chilling in its simplicity. Nothing had been stolen, nothing ransacked, no signs of a robbery gone wrong, or a break-in fueled by desperation. The house looked untouched, peaceful even, if not for the devastating scene in the bedroom. Whoever had done this had come for one reason only, to kill. And disturbingly, they'd done it with meticulous care. As investigators combed the scene, it became clear that the killer had been calculated. No fingerprints, no footprints, no stray hair, no traceable DNA. It was clean, too clean, which meant this wouldn't be a straightforward case. The Yolo Sheriff's Office, along with the FBI, began an intense investigation, but they were working with almost nothing. No forensic evidence, no known enemies, no obvious suspects. And that's when the focus shifted to somebody shockingly close to home. One of the first people to fall under suspicion was Chip's own grandson, a young man living with schizophrenia. During a search of his home, investigators found disturbing drawings that resembled the murder scene. It was enough to set alarm bells ringing, especially with no other leads in sight. If they had looked at the book a little harder, they would have seen that it was a hand-drawn comic book, and that the two victims in the image that made them suspect Chip's grandson actually survived and went on as the main characters in the story. But the investigators just stayed glued on this disturbing image and, of course, his mental illness. But to the rest of the family, the idea was unthinkable. This was someone they loved, someone they knew was struggling, yes, but not someone capable of something like this. Still, with no clear answers, law enforcement leaned hard into the theory. For Chip's children and grandchildren, it was like reliving the nightmare all over again. Not only were they grieving an unimaginable loss, they now had to watch one of their own be treated as suspect number one.
It often is closest to those to you, isn't it, though?
Well, I suppose so. The grief was fractured, complicated by suspicion, fear, and disbelief. Chip's son Robert found himself in the impossible position of trying to shield his son from the weight of the allegations, even as he buried his father. In fact, the pressure of the investigation meant that Robert was late to his own father's funeral, caught between mourning and fighting to protect his child.
God.
Just an awful situation to be in. It was a cruel, compounding heartbreak, and for weeks the family had no answers, just pain and a deep, growing question.
Aww.
Who could have done this? For months, the investigation into the murders of Claudia Maupin and Oliver Chip Northup had stalled. The crime scene was meticulously clean, no fingerprints, no footprints, nothing. The killer had left behind no clues, and the case seemed to be going cold. So even though they're suspecting the grandson, they've actually, apart from this drawing and the fact that he's got mental illness, they don't have anything else to pin it on him.
Yeah.
Then, in June 2013, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A friend of Daniel Marsh, so the guy we spoke about in the beginning, contacted the police, reporting that Daniel had confessed to the murders. This friend knew details about the crime that had never been released to the public. When asked what he could tell investigators, he replied, "Well, everything, actually." Daniel had made a critical error. He had bragged about his crime. Despite his careful planning to avoid leaving physical evidence, his need to boast about his actions led to his downfall.
Ha.
Exactly, yes. This tip provided the investigators with the lead they desperately needed. At just 10 years old, Daniel Marsh was being hailed a hero. He'd saved his father's life by performing CPR during a heart attack. an act so remarkable that he was given an American Red Cross Hero Award. He was even offered a place in the Yolo County Sheriff's Department Youth Academy, a program meant to nurture promising young citizens. To the outside world, Daniel was shaping up to be a kind, capable, even remarkable young man. But behind the scenes, everything was starting to fall apart. That same year, Daniel's parents separated in a deeply painful divorce, triggered by his mother's affair with none other than his former kindergarten teacher, a woman.
Oh. Scandal.
Mhm.
Scandal.
For a 10-year-old, the betrayal was massive and confusing.
Oh, yeah, that is fair.
That's when the violent thoughts started. He became fixated on the woman his mother had left his father for, fantasizing about slitting her throat or strangling her. It wasn't just anger, it was an obsession, and it didn't stop there. By the age of 11, Daniel had begun dreaming about killing people. He told a therapist he fantasized about torture and wanted to make those fantasies come true. That same year, he was diagnosed with adjustment disorder with depressed mood. He started having frequent nightmares, withdrawing socially, lashing out with temper outbursts. He couldn't connect with people. He didn't want to. As he moved into adolescence, Daniel's behaviour became even more alarming. He started self-harming, cutting himself deeply. He became anorexic, dropping to a skeletal 93 pounds by the age of 14, and spending nearly a month in hospital for treatment. At the same time, he was experimenting with alcohol and weed, bouncing between his parents' homes until his father eventually kicked him out for drug use.
Oh, nice. Yeah, let's not support him. Let's kick him out.
Yeah. That always goes so well.
So Daniel's spiralling, and no one seems to be able to stop it. He was prescribed a laundry list of medications: Prozac, Celexa, Lexapro, Abilify, Zoloft, Seroquel, Wellbutrin. A cocktail meant to pull him back from the edge, but instead it just seemed to fog everything over. What no one could fully see was how deep his thoughts had gone. By age 14, his dreams of killing had become constant. In one session with a school counsellor, he described fantasies of peeling the skin off people's hands and cutting off their eyelids.
I think he needs more than a school counsellor.
Yes.
Why eyelids are so... Ugh.
And that those ideas, disturbing as they were, only scratched the surface of what was really going on in his mind. He'd stopped fighting the thoughts, he'd given in to them. Daniel became obsessed with real-life violence. He started regularly visiting bestgore.com, a now infamous site that hosts graphic, or hosted, I don't imagine it exists anymore, maybe it does, I didn't check, that hosted graphic, real-world videos of death, torture and mutilation. He absorbed it all, desensitized, fascinated. He also watched violent horror films, particularly those with excessive gore. He idolized serial killers like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer. He wanted to become one. At school, his artwork turned macabre. Torture scenes, death, pain. His friends noticed he'd talk casually about killing people. And he'd even say that if he ever got caught, he'd just plead insanity. And there was more.
Did they not take that as a bit of a red flag? I'd be like,
But these are all
these are red.
massive
These
red
are red
flags.
parachutes.
Mm.
Oh.
Daniel began hurting animals. He killed a raccoon. He kicked a dog. One friend recalled seeing him strangle a cat right there in the street. And when asked why he did it, Daniel simply replied, "I hated that cat."
That's weird.
It's psychotic. He even asked a friend if he could kill his dog, and he wasn't joking.
Oh.
His appearance changed too. He started dressing in all black. He wore his hair long. He got into death metal, and he gave off the kind of goth persona, dark, brooding, unreachable. But no one knew just how dark it had truly become. Now, just a little parenthesis. I'm not saying that goths are violent and disturbed psychopaths. I was a goth and
Emma was goth girl.
And still am at heart, really. And I wouldn't hurt a fly. I think most of us are just big old softies, but we maybe just like things a little bit spooky.
Emma was shocked that we didn't have a spider grabber.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. So
I'm definitely not comparing being a goth to being a psycho, but in this case, the two went hand in hand. Despite everything, the drugs, the therapy, the warnings, the storm inside Daniel Marsh kept building. And in April 2013, it finally exploded. And so this brings us to Daniel Marsh's arrest. Following his friend's 911 call, which finally placed him on the police's radar, what followed was one of the most disturbing police interviews I've ever watched. And it is available on YouTube for anyone who wants to see it in full. But I'll warn you now, it is not easy viewing.
No.
When Daniel was brought in, the officers didn't immediately tell him why he was there. Instead, they kept it conversational. They asked about school, his family, how he felt about other people. They asked about his interests in horror, in gore. And Daniel didn't hold back. He said that seeing dead bodies lying around in funny positions made him laugh. He said, I've got a very dark sense of humour. I mean, I've got a dark sense of humour. That's beyond that. That's a sick...
Yeah.
Really a dark sense of humour, is
Just
it?
a bit sick.
That's just sick. He said that he felt exhilarated when he looked at disturbing images. There was no hesitation, no discomfort, just honesty, or at least his version of it. His demeanour was off. He was too relaxed. He sat calmly across from the agents, completely at ease. He'd got nothing to worry about because in his mind, he'd pulled it off, the perfect crime. He wasn't about to give anything away. Daniel was articulate, extremely so, but not in the way that was impressive, in a way that was deeply, deeply unsettling. Like, he doesn't speak like a 15-year-old kid. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's very cold.
Yeah.
It's very measured. And he says these awful things with absolutely no feeling whatsoever.
Ugh. I can see what you mean, but I can't explain it either. Just like real flat and like, Why is that voice coming out of that face? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like someone completely detached from the weight of what he'd done. And at that point, the officers didn't even know the half of it. The FBI agent and the other officer questioning him were friendly, almost gentle, at least on the surface, but of course it's a tactic. And it worked. Daniel relaxed more and more as the minutes ticked by. He admitted he had intrusive thoughts about killing people, about everyone he met, in fact. But he said obviously he'd never act on them. That's when they told him. They laid it out. Daniel had been identified as the killer of Oliver Chip Northup and Claudia Maupin. He laughed. He actually laughed. Not because he was nervous, not out of disbelief. It was almost like he found it ridiculous. Like, how could a 16-year-old kid possibly be connected to something like that? So by this time, obviously, because the case went cold, I think it was about 6 months without any leads, he'd turned 16. So he was 15 at the time of the murders, now he's 16. He had no idea just how much they already knew. As the interview wore on, Daniel kept up the act, calm, collected, amused by the idea that anyone could think he was responsible. But the investigators weren't just playing nice, they were building pressure. And they were about to play their trump card. They had a recording. Daniel's friend, the one who had originally called 911, had been speaking to Daniel's ex-girlfriend on the phone, and they'd got the recorded conversation. They both discussed the murders and how Daniel had confessed to both of them because he had in fact confessed to his ex-girlfriend as well. The friend urged her to come forward and give a statement. She was hesitant, but only because she was scared. And she had every reason to be. The last time Daniel had visited her, he hadn't knocked on the door or sent a message. He had crept through the fucking doggy door in the middle of the night, sneaking into her room and standing over her and whispering, "I told you I could break in at any time."
Fuck off.
Why?
What are you doing?
He's showing off. He's like, "Look what I can do."
Murder you. Yeah.
And she's just terrified.
Oh, well, what else could you be at that point?
It was so threatening. A reminder of what he was capable of, and a glimpse into how just deeply he enjoyed control and fear. So you can understand why, once he'd said this to his ex-girlfriend, she was terrified.
Yeah.
Back in the interview room, Daniel stuck to denial. He claimed his friend had fabricated everything, that he had committed the murders, not Daniel, that he was framing him out of spite. He said that his friend was the same one who told the school about the knife he brought to campus and even accused him of killing the cat that Daniel had actually strangled himself. So he's just turning it around. So my friends phoned you up with all this information about the case and he's accusing me, but did you ever think that maybe it was him and that's how he knows that it's all, all the details? And I've never hurt an animal in my life, but he killed a cat. Do you see?
Yeah.
He's just turning it all around. But the investigators weren't buying it, not even a little. They'd seen through the performance and Daniel could tell. The shift was subtle. The confidence slipping just a little, the answers coming slower. And then he said it. "I'm fucked either way, right?" The agents didn't flinch. They told him, calmly and without hesitation, yeah. He could confess now, or he could sit in silence, but either way, they had enough to put him away.
Jesus.
And then Daniel Marsh began to talk. It started slowly, bits and pieces, small admissions, but once the words began to flow, the horror spilled out in full. He told the investigators everything. He had chosen the house at random. There was no personal connection, no grudge. It was simply the only one he could get into.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just random.
Yeah.
The window had been left open because it was a safe neighbourhood and it was hot. And Chip and Claudia just wanted some fresh air. So, yeah, they left the window open. He crept inside and made his way to the bedroom. Claudia and Chip were fast asleep, side by side, peaceful, unaware that death was quite literally standing over them. Daniel said it felt unbelievable, that this was the moment he had been waiting for. He wasn't scared, he was excited. Claudia was the first to stir. As soon as she moved, he launched at her, stabbing again and again, so violently that he said he could feel the bones in her chest scraping against the blade.
Oh, God.
But Claudia didn't die easily. She fought. She screamed. She begged.
Poor Claudia. Bless her little heart.
Awful. This is awful. Daniel laughed as he told the investigators how she kept pleading, "Please stop, please don't do this." His total disconnection from all empathy was painfully visible at this point. The commotion woke up Chip. He had just enough time to turn and look at Daniel before Daniel stabbed him in the throat. Mute from the wound, Chip collapsed, still conscious, but unable to do anything. Daniel turned back to Claudia. She was still alive. And this is where Daniel's deepest, darkest fantasies came to life. He gave her what he described as a Chelsea smile, a horrific mutilation that had lived in his imagination for years. A Chelsea smile, for everybody that doesn't know, is when you open up the corners of the mouth, a bit like to give you a Joker smile, but it's into to the ears. It's like,
yeah, it's all the way across the, all the way to near the ear. Yeah. Poor little love.
He then tried to gouge out her eye, just out of curiosity to see if he could. She was still alive as this was happening. He didn't stop until she gasped her last breath. Then he turned back to Chip, who had witnessed the entire thing and was clutching his neck, trying to hold in the blood, but it was futile. Daniel stabbed him over and over again, as violently as with Claudia. He even stabbed him in the forehead, admitting it was just to see how sharp his knife was. He did, in fact, cut off Chip's eyelid as well. When he was done, both Claudia and Chip lay side by side in their bed, unrecognisable.
Poor little loves.
Oh, it's horrible. Their bodies mutilated, the room soaked in blood. The attack had taken around 30 agonising minutes.
Gosh.
But Daniel still wasn't finished. He began punching them, kicking them, fueled by adrenaline and endorphins. He loved it. He felt like this was what he was meant for. Then, in an act of pure cruelty, he decided to leave one final message. Not written, but staged. He opened both of their abdomens to feel their intestines between his fingers and inserted a mobile phone into Claudia's chest cavity and a drinking glass into Chip's. There was no reason for it other than, as he put it, I wanted to fuck with whoever found the bodies. He wanted to shock, to disgust, to
What a
haunt.
piece of shit. There are some that, like, any length is too far, but he took that too far, didn't he?
Oh, you just know as well that he would have done all this again. He would have gone, what? It's so bad for a first one, the amount of stuff that he's done.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
Like, imagine if he didn't get caught, he would have done it again. Worse.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hell. They just wanted some fresh air.
Yeah, I know. Before leaving, he collected souvenirs, pieces of their bloody clothing. He wanted to relive this moment again and again.
Okay.
When asked if he knew how many times he'd stabbed the couple, he took a large inhale of breath and said, a lot. But he said it like that. It was like, a lot. You know, like, I don't know. It's just so chilling. Like, he didn't give a shit. Like, he was almost proud that it was a lot.
Yeah.
And he said, I didn't count, but at least 20 each. It was, in fact, a lot more.
I was going to say, it feels like it was a lot more.
Claudia suffered 74 wounds around her body, including 67 stab wounds.
Oh, little love.
One of the stab wounds had knocked out her tooth.
Aww.
Northup suffered 65 separate wounds, ranging from his head to his legs. 61 of those were stab wounds. In total, Marsh inflicted over 128 stab wounds on his victims. He hid everything, the knife, his clothes, the victim's clothes, and his hockey mask in his mum's garage, because he did it all wearing a hockey mask. And when investigators searched the property, they found it all just as he'd described. As the interrogation wrapped up, the FBI agent told Daniel that he had done a good job leaving the scene clean of evidence, to which Daniel laughed and said, "Thank you."
Fucking hell.
He admitted that he'd been thinking of how he would kill the agent, choke him with his tie, smash him into the mirror, and stab him with the broken glass, or just shove his head repeatedly into the wall. He added, "It's nothing personal, it's just the way my mind works." And to finish, he asked, was I really fucked either way? To make sure that he hadn't just confessed for nothing. But the agent reassured him that they would have found all the bloody clothes eventually, so yes, he indeed was. Daniel Marsh's trial commenced on September 2nd, 2014 in Yolo County, California. At that time, he was 17 years old, but he was tried as an adult due to the severity and nature of his crimes. The trial lasted approximately 5 weeks, during which the jury heard detailed testimonies from investigators, forensic experts, and individuals who knew Marsh personally. On September 26, 2014, the jury found Marsh guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances, including torture and lying in wait. Subsequently, on September 30th, 2014, the jury determined that Marsh was sane at the time of the offences. He was sentenced to 52 years to life in prison. During the trial, as Daniel had said he would, he did try to plead insanity, and he was assessed by a psychiatrist, who Daniel actually threatened to kill, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, it's quite hard to act crazy.
Yeah.
To a point where they'll sign you off as
insane, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he said, to his friends, I'll just plead insanity is proof that he's not insane, because people that are insane wouldn't try to cover it up.
No. So they gave Daniel a test. It's called a psychopathy test. So Daniel scored higher in a psychopathy test than Dahmer's 22 out of 40. So that's Jeffrey Dahmer. And John Wayne Gacy's 27 out of 40, scoring a terrifying 35.8 out of 40.
Jesus.
He is very much a psychopath.
It sounded like it with the way that he was talking about it.
Oh, you just watched that video, mate, and you're like, this is the Antichrist. He is awful. But he was found sane and he was judged as such. Scarier still, Daniel admitted that before his arrest, he had already been prowling the streets looking for his perfect next kill. He planned to use a baseball bat this time. Luckily for the world, his friend came forward before Daniel Marsh could claim any more lives. Had he not, I am in no doubt that he would have become one of the world's most brutal serial killers.
Yeah.
In 2016, California voters passed Proposition 57, which holds that juvenile court judges must decide whether juvenile offenders are tried in juvenile court or in adult court. In 2018, California's Supreme Court ruled that Proposition 57 could be applied retroactively to cases that had not yet been finalised. So Daniel took this opportunity to appeal. Thank God it was rejected, because if they'd have accepted
there's no way that wouldn't have been rejected, is there?
But he was trying to get out of prison.
Yeah.
I probably just thought that he could because he's him.
Yeah. Daniel claims extreme remorse now and says that he's a changed person.
Is he though?
The tattoos on his body that depict the wounds that he inflicted on Chip and Claudia say otherwise. He got their wounds tattooed on his body.
I have no words, to be honest.
And that's my story.
What a psychopath. And I've just looked up little Chip and Claudia, and they're gorgeous. The perfect little
Aren't they
couple.
gorgeous?
They're so cute. Claudia is gorgeous. Oh, I don't even want to look at what he looks like.
No, fuck him. No, and Claudia is beautiful, right?
She is gorgeous. And a little flowery blouse. And little Chips just like hanging on the photo that I've got. It's like a little, them little photo portraits that we used to that you can go and get done. It's that one that I'm looking at. They look so lovely. Aww.
Yeah.
It's just awful, isn't it?
Horrendous case, senseless, because it was just, they just left their window open, that was it.
Yeah.
That's the rarest type of... There's the one that's the scariest. The one's like, I'll just go and murder someone because I can, and it's them just because they've left the window open.
Yeah.
If they had that window shut, it would have been someone else that had their window open, because he was on a mission that night. He was going to murder someone.
Over 50 houses he'd tried.
So that's a lot of houses to try and also not get caught. 'Cause if someone wiggles the window or the door handle, there's a chance that whoever's in the house can just hear it and be like, someone's outside.
I mean, that's what he said. Is it true? I wouldn't put it past him. He's terrifying. He is 100% pure evil. I couldn't see anything human to him, apart from obviously his appearance. It was almost robotic watching him. It was absolutely chilling, absolutely terrifying. And to the point where I was like, do I actually want to cover this story? Because what if he gets out of prison and he looks up anybody that's covered his story? You know, he scared me, you know?
Yeah. Hopefully he won't get out.
52 years is quite a long time.
Yeah, he's probably going to do something else while he's in there. If he thinks that he's God.
It is very much that. It's terrible. And they go, oh, bad childhood. It wasn't that bad. His mum left his dad loads of kids' parents' divorce.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. He did apparently at some point try to claim that he'd been sexually abused as a child, but everybody on the case doesn't really believe him and just thinks he's making it up to make it seem more understandable why he is the way he is. But I think he's just a psycho.
Some people are just born evil.
Sounds like it, doesn't it, to be fair?
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, I thought that was an interesting case.
It
but
was.
It did break my heart.
Yeah. No, but it was
Right.
good though, Emma. Well done. Ray.
You're welcome. You're welcome, and thank you for yours. And I hope everybody enjoyed this true crime double whammy.
Yes. Tune in next time for our little swap over. Yeah.
So next week I'm true crime and you're spooky.
Yeah.
How fun.
I am excited. Yeah. Find something really scary. I don't know if you can beat Pekin Lynn though.
Oh yeah, no, I'll try. I'll see what I can do. I think about Scurry and Pekin Lynn every now and again.
Yeah, I think about her all the time. Yeah. She's one of...
Think about her all the time.
I do.
Yeah.
Scary shit, man. Right, shall we go?
Right.
Yes, let's go. Thanks everyone for listening as always. You can follow us in all the usual places. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with your friends, talk about us to the lady in the supermarket, listen to us on your way to work, and then speak about us all day.
Yes. Don't do any work, just talk about us.
Just talk about us.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, guys, stay safe.
Don't kill people.
No.
And keep it weird.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Hi, and welcome back to Spine Killers and Serial Killers. I'm Becky.
No, that's not what the podcast is called.
What did I say?
Spine Killers and Serial Killers.
Wait, hold on.
on?
I can't speak. I'm having a stroke.
I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. It's so weird.
I really didn't hear that. I said that wrong.
Are we in like some weird parallel universe where we just can't do it? Go on then.
Go on.
Yeah, hold on. Dip. Yeah, Nellies.